Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And I get a sneaking suspicion he's also read the title of today's video, so he knows what he's doing. And I'm Quantum Cookins, and we're going to fight to the death. We've been told to, aren't we?
Yes, Samuel.
And we'll see who wins this battle of the ship discussion. Well,
Yeah,
you might,
well-
because TOS, Stuart. Sort of.
Well, yeah, it is, but not really. This is the Gorn ship that we're looking at today from remastered TOS. The Gorn ship was never actually seen. It's just a little clip on the view screen. And then, there was Gorn ships in Starfleet Battles. There was Gorn ships in Starfleet Command.
Which
there
we've
was
looked
Gorn
at,
ships.
a couple of them.
Yep. There was, I have blueprints for the original Gorn ship, which are a totally different looking ship than this, which was done back in the 70s. So, I mean, the Gorn have kind of been speculated about, but never really. So you say it's a TOS design, and it is, but it was also created at the time of the remaster, so it's not. So
Yeah, and it was designed by Michael and Disa Kuda, which is kind of nice. They designed their own one. They did obviously, they're heavily involved in that. They're not normally ship designers, but they put their hands at this one. And I mean, I know what I think, and it's not a lot, but like what did you think when you first saw this thing come out, and it was bringing this to life, the Gorn,
wasn't super pleased, I gotta say. It's an interesting enough design, but like I said, as I've said many times, Starfleet Battles and stuff, grew up with it. That was our Bible. That was what we went by. And the Gorn ships, they have a distinct look. And, there's different sizes and classes. And there was no inspiration taken from that, which is kind of a shame because there were some cool-ish designs, especially for the time period and the TOS aesthetic, So, I mean, there's a little bit maybe carried over into this, a small bit. But we'll get to that in a minute. But, no, I thought it was an interesting design, but I was like, no, you had an opportunity to kind of maybe tie something together that looked, like something people recognize at least, and we got something completely different, which is fine. It's just a different class of ship that was never in Starfleet Battles.
And just for a little bit of, before I say what I think, so obviously here's the first render, which is great. It's a game model, but a licensed game model, so it's accurate as much as can be. But the next picture, this is the original model made for TOS Remastered. I didn't realise, but because it was seen so far back, they didn't even bother texturing it. They didn't need to. And the caveat given is because it would use important render time, but I don't consider the remasters of a particularly high standard. So I don't think they didn't really push out the boundaries of this. They could have done more interesting shots and shown it, and they didn't have the time or money or effort to. So all we got was this. And in fact, Eagle Moss was the first one who got this model, actually had to texture it because it was never finished. So the one you see in the Eagles miniature is the best one I've ever done. So back to obviously a render, back to the first view. So my thought on this, Stuart, I've just raised the question: is what was the thought behind this? I don't understand the ship. What were they going for here?
I don't honestly. I mean, the Gorn are reptilian. You'd think there'd be some kind of. I don't know. I would love to hear Michael and Denise Okuda's thoughts on this.
It's primitive, this could have been an easy model miniature to make back in the day, and it certainly got the very nacelle vibe that even the Romulan ship had and such. But I would never ever have said Gorn from this. Maybe, well, if you change the nacelle color, maybe like crappy Bajoran, freighter because of the brown. If I think Gorn, I would want to see, panel lines of scales. A sense of bulkier armor up until a central point. Maybe some not necessarily fang detail, but a sense of aggressive, outstretched, like fangs or teeth. Some pushing out weaponry. This looks like an incredibly simple, flat stick model. There's no windows, no details. I don't understand it. And it certainly makes the Gorn feel like a non... Again, it wasn't really even seen in Remastered, so you can't really go by that. But it makes them feel like such a non-race.
Honestly, I think because Michael and Denise Okuda were just tasked with making a Gorn ship, they wanted to, infuse some of their own whatever into ship design, which is fine. I mean, it is a cool-looking ship. I got to give them a lot of credit for it. It's definitely something unique. So
it is unique. It's just not Gorn.
I think it's very interesting. Just I don't really get Gorn.
But let's look at the back view, though. You have stuff.
Got a lot of nacelles, and I don't know if they're all warp nacelles. Even that middle one has the same glow as the front Blizzard collectors, and it has actually it looks like they took the Romulan Bird of Prey TOS engine and stretched it a little bit and added some stuff to it. That's like one of the tie-ins that might tie into Starfleet Battle's Gorn ships, because they had the round hulls that are attached together, and then they had like the nacelles on the back, which were long, and sometimes one on the top, sometimes one on the bottom and the top. So that's like something that may be carried over.
All I see here is maybe it's a tail, kind of that vibe.
Maybe, yeah.
Drop off that. But if you go to the next view, you can see at the bottom. I do like the warp, the middle engine, the way the grills are, the back, the impulse engines being in the backs. We kind of go against that a little bit. These things don't deliver thrust. It goes kind of against Gene's thing with that. But again, this is an alien race. Who cares? But give us some separate impulse engines. Don't be relying on rocket boosters looking thing.
That being said, I do kind of like the 3 impulse design that they have here. Yeah, I would assume that the ones on the top are the warp nacelles. However, no line of sight, no inner grills. Well, I guess there's line of sight, kinda. It's got the addition of like pods at the back, which again, from certain views, look like weapons pods, like from modern day fighter jets and stuff, or fuel tanks.
If we go back to the original CGI one for a second, you can see some slight differences. That there is no visible glow elements anywhere, and I don't even see any sort of ribbing at the back of any of the pods. So I think this game's which Adversaries kind of extrapolated try and make some glows. Otherwise, there's nothing in this model. So and I think it's also less long. It looks way more stout. If you look at that bottom right view, it's much more like compressed, and this one looks a lot more like elegant and flowing. So I think they obviously tweaked it. But since it's a licensed model, and they have the Eaglemoss one to go off, I'm sure they've done the Eaglemoss one as well.
Yeah. Well, the kind of thing that's kind of a shame is the fact that there's no scale references at all. I would like to see how this stacks up against the original Enterprise. I would assume it's roughly the same as far as length goes, but then again, I could also see it being just the size of the saucer. I could see this being a much smaller kind of scout ship.
Yeah, if you cut to the next view, the front back to see those glows. See, for me, it feels like a long range fighter. Honestly, I don't get capital ship vibe at all from this, based on how thin they are. And the front bit is like a couple of rooms. The Gorn warps in, and I don't remember any sense of like, oh my god, they could destroy us necessarily. But yeah, there's nothing in the episode at all, so I couldn't even make scale charts because there's nothing, not even Eaglemoss. It's one of those things, if you look at the front of it, normally it's a scale, and then sometimes they suspiciously don't have that information. So this one, they didn't even try and extrapolate, because there's no windows, there's no details to relate to. I don't know what you'd say. For me, like I say, I think this is a much smaller ship. If I was to, and we've got a thing coming up where I kind of guessed a scale that I would do, and it was much smaller than the saucer. Not tiny, but much smaller than the saucer.
I can see a case for each, honestly. I do. One thing I really like about this view, though,
it's a nice view. To be fair, this one's nice.
Yeah. The front of those warp engine, let's call them nacelles. I love how the outer part is shielded. That could be your line of sight right there across those two.
Yeah, I think this bottom view highlights all the unique details about it. If that makes sense. It doesn't just look like tubes attached to a flimsy thing. You've got all the glows, you've got all the little details, you've got all the grates. This is its best view.
It's definitely a cool view. Like, having seen this ship go by camera and stuff, I mean, I'd love to get that kind of feel from it. See it in motion, and just to see it in the show would have been nice. You see it on the view screen, you can barely see it.
This is why when remastering, at least give us some interesting stuff. They could have done better for sure. But that would be different to remastering versus remastering.
Well, the next shot's from the front, kind of a little bit above. And again, this is an interesting view. I like this. I just wish there were windows, honestly. Windows would have been ideal. Mm-hmm. Because then we could at least kind of guess scaling.
There are obvious spaces. Make that top ring windowed.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe have
the bridge.
Yeah, or maybe like the inner ring, the inner bobble thing, that's the bridge, and then the outer is like a big corridor around the bridge and a ring of rooms around the bridge, and that's because a different style of thing, and therefore, I'd like it'd be kind of cool if all their stuff is saucers, but saucers in a smaller form.
Yeah. It's just it's kind of sad we never saw the Gorn again. Unfortunately, like I said, we did in games, even Starfleet Command games, Volume 1.
Yeah, loads of ships, and I'd love to look at those at some point. They're pretty creative. And green.
Well, green and brown. More brown, I think. But yeah, there's some really interesting designs in that for the Gorn, which I really appreciate. And considering that those things all existed, like even combining Starfleet Command, which is based on Starfleet Battles, so taking that Gorn design and mixing it with the Starfleet Battles design, I think you could have come up with something a lot more interesting than this. Not saying this isn't interesting, not saying Michael and Denise did a bad job. This is a cool looking ship. And for the fact that we even got one, a Gorn ship based on how long it's in the episode and how far away it is kind of special in itself in a way. So you got to take the good and the bad.
Although, does this make you wonder, if you look at the design, it's so simple. I mean, a modeler, a good one, I'm sure, can make this in hours. It's so few details. I mean, do you think they just literally, they ran to the episode and they said, okay, this is one of the most famous episodes ever, but we've only got a $400 budget left and 4 days. What's the simplest thing we can draw? And they said, Mike and Denise, can you design something that is really easy to make? And they were like, okay, here's a sketch and this is the result. Really, really easy. Because, production time does determine. And you see ships that have a lot more thought put in, they have more time put in often. The NX, the Galaxy, they look more fleshed out because they really are. This to me feels not slapdash, but let's keep it really simple and cheap. Because it's only needed for one shot. But definitely not done its justice. But if they only had 48 hours to do the ship, which just says bad planning and bad organisation, and they should have... Wow. But does it kind of say that sort of vibe to you, do you think?
Like I said, though, it's lucky we even got anything, because you could just literally have like a little blip on the screen and not really see any kind of shapes.
Well, then they can sell 10,000 by Eagles and make much money.
Exactly, but you got a whole new... CBS has a whole new series that they could make a lot of money with Seagull Moss by creating new ships, and they chose not to. But anyway, that's another topic altogether. So, I mean, even if they had zoomed in on this a little bit on the view screen, like had the blip and then like a zoom in of at least the shape a little bit better, would have been... But that being said, it's amazing we got even this. So, it is something new to the world of Star Trek, designed by Michael and Denise, which is special in itself. So... It's a mixed blessing. It's an interesting enough ship that I don't really have much of an issue with it.
Yeah, this is one of my pet peeve ships.
Oh.
It's just like a 1 out of 10 for me, possibly less. And like you say, we've seen some other better Gorn ships. So yeah, I appreciate it's in there. But this is one I've known about for a long time and was going to cover it with you. But it's just like, but it was cool to render though, to get the model, convert it, and then light it was kind of cool. And that bottom view, that picture 3, that is a good angle, to be fair. Give more credit to it. And maybe, Stuart, I should challenge you to redesign it and add windows and scale it and make it an appropriate ship.
I'll maybe we'll do that sometime. Sure. I would love to take a crack at a Gorn design, actually. That'd be interesting.
Oh, I want to see the Stuart Foley fleet.
The Foley fleet. Speaking of, guys, if you guys have an idea for how this ship should be different, or if you really like this design, let us know in the comment section. Discuss amongst yourselves. How would you fix it? How would you change it? Would you change it? Is this something that you really like? Are you just happy we have it, considering how long it was in the show? Let us know in the comment section. We love reading those, and we love interacting with you guys. So if you want to see more of this kind of discussion, please hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the all bell icon so you get notified every time we upload, which is we do a lot of stuff, and we do a lot of lives and interacting with you guys. So if you want to be part of it, please do all those things and like the video as well.
Yes, but obviously the classic way is Patreon. Do support us via that if you want to. Lots of people do, and lots of people need to keep us going. PayPal, one-time donation that goes towards our show budget, really helps. Or just keep joining in. It's always the free way. Just tune in. We make this content for you, so just hopefully you enjoy it.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Kong, and I guess we learned, Stuart, that we need to work together and be in peace.
That's right. So we'll see you next time.